Hi, I'm Tish. I study and write fairy tales, and today I want to talk about one of my favorites, Madame d'Aulnoy's drag king, Belle-belle ou le Chevalier Fortuné, a literary fairy tale of cross-dressing and unrequited queer affections. Marie-Catherine Jumelle de Bonneville, Baroness d'Aulnoy, lived 1652 to 1705. She, with many other extraordinary women, wrote and shared their fairy tales in their salons in Paris in the 1690s. I'm low-key obsessed. Here's a little video I made about her. In his introduction to The Island of Happiness, Tales of Madame d'Aulnoy, translator Jack Sipes says that d'Aulnoy was an idealist and moralist. What interested her most of all was the status of women, the power of love, ethical behavior, and the tender relations between lovers. If you'd like to know more about her and read 8 of her tales beautifully illustrated by Natalie Frank, I recommend this book. Belle-belle ou le Chevalier Fortuné is my favorite d'Aulnoy story I've read so far. I've read 3 English translations and consulted the original French to compare certain interesting phrases. Check the description for links to all the books and somewhere you can read it online for free. Like many of d'Aulnoy's literary fairy tales, Belle-belle is not a retelling of a single tale type. Rather, it combines many tale types, themes, and motifs. I noticed the youngest daughter being the only one worthy, be kind to the old lady because she's actually a fairy, the gathering of magically gifted friends to create a superhero team, and cross-dressing for identity deceit. Here's the story. Belle-belle takes the place of her elderly father as a soldier, with the help of a fairy, who gives her a magical trunk, which has basically everything she could ever want or need, and a magical horse, which is apparently all-knowing. As a chevalier, a knight, named Fortuné, he gathers magically gifted friends on his way to report for duty. Arriving in the city, he is beloved by everyone who sees him for his fancy clothes, his good looks, and his charm. The king makes him his right-hand man, while his sister, the queen, has a crush, and Belle-belle is sweet on the king. The queen pursues Fortuné, but takes his disinterest hard and arranges for him to face life-threatening feats in an effort to get rid of him. But he succeeds with a little help from his friends. The queen attempts a final time to get Fortuné to marry her, but upon his refusal, attacks herself and blames Fortuné, which gets him sentenced to death. When the executioner tears away Fortuné's clothes to reveal his chest for the stabbing, Belle-belle is outed as a woman. Boobs. Her sentence is revoked, and the king is thrilled that he can marry her. Belle-belle's magical horse brings her father and sisters to live with her, and they all live happily ever after. As I wrote in last month's fairy tale essay, though The Little Mermaid does not have explicitly queer characters, it is easy to interpret queer themes from the tale. Many fairy tales can be interpreted through a queer lens, while we also have some pretty blatant queer and gender-bending characters and plots. Belle-belle, with its cross-dressing and unreciprocated romantic attractions, lends itself easily to trans and queer interpretations, I think. So how and when does Belle-belle become Fortuné? Is it when she puts on men's clothes? When the fairy gives her the name Fortuné? Or when she is first perceived as a man by others? In the prose, the change happens when she rides into the city and people admire her as a man. The character's pronouns change from she to he at this point in every translation, shortly before or with this sentence. The Chevalier Fortuné, we will now use this name when discussing Belle-belle. Or Fortuné, for so we must call her in future. Or the direct English translation, after all, that's what we call him. What makes Fortuné a man is what makes anyone a man. Men's clothes, a man's name, manly actions. The king didn't check Fortuné's genitals or chromosomes before declaring him the best chevalier in the army, nor did the queen before she developed a strong desire for him. The story uses sex, where we would now use gender, as until recently they were thought of one and the same. And the divide between the only 2 sexes/genders was strict. No matter what Belle-belle looked like naturally, it might not have even occurred to onlookers that Fortuné could be a woman, because only men wore men's clothes. Only men were capable of skills such as hunting and leading an army. And maybe they were right. By all measures but biology, Fortuné is a man, by their gender roles of the time. It is interesting that in this story of cross-dressing and deception, that the narrator also changes to not only using his new name, but also his pronouns. Other stories might stay in the know and continue to tell you about her around people who think she's a man. But Daunois chooses, as a storyteller, to make the change to Fortuné and he. This assertion of Fortuné's sex/gender begs the question, is he a transgender man, or is Belle-belle in drag? I think Belle-belle is in drag as a male character named Fortuné. And I know it's not really drag because it's not a performance, it's not over the top, but bear with me. She has not changed her own gender identity. This male character is temporary. It's clear from the beginning that this is a deceit, and she is only pretending to be a man enough to get away with taking her father's place in the army as his son. While the change in pronouns and name in the narration suggests the gender change is real, it's made clear in this line that it is not. Belle-belle, who had not renounced her sex with her dress, felt fervently drawn to him. This comes after the name and pronoun change when Fortuné meets the king. This is a reminder to the reader that although the narrator is using the name and pronouns that the other characters would use, we should know that Belle-belle is still herself under the men's clothes and the deception. These days, we know that a woman does not have to renounce her womanhood or even feel masculine to wear men's clothes. I mean, what are men's and women's clothes anyway? They're clothes, you put them on your body, who cares? The story gets no more specific about how she passes for a man, other than clothes, name, and backstory. And as I can't help but picture everything I read as a film adaptation in my mind, I'm considering her body shape, including the size of her breasts. I mean, they'd have to be small enough to be hidden under layers of fancy men's clothes, but large enough to be an identifier of her womanhood when exposed. But maybe I'm focusing on unnecessary details. Boobs. Since she is still a woman under those men's clothes and name, I wonder what that means for the women who are attracted to Fortuné. Are all the women crushing on Fortuné queer? Do they have a crush on a man or a woman? I think all the qualities they like about him, his beautiful face, his charm and grace, his skills from dancing to hunting, are all Belle-belle, not something she's faking to be Fortuné. They're crushing on a man with a female face, no facial hair, and feminine qualities like charm and grace. Do women want feminine men, or do they want women? On the other hand, the king is delighted to find out his favorite man is a woman, so he can marry her. Like, did he feel that way about Fortuné all along? It's a real Li Shang and Mulan situation. Straight men get so excited when they find out they can fuck their best friend. No homo. I see the queerness in this gender-bending, gender-deceiving story, but unfortunately the story, or its writer, remains steadfastly heteronormative. Belle-belle, who had not renounced her sex with her dress, felt fervently drawn to him. This line equates sex, gender, with being attracted to only the opposite sex. To rephrase the sentence, Belle-belle, who had not renounced her attraction to men by dressing like one, felt attracted to the king. She is still a woman, and women are attracted to men. Fortuné's indifference to the queen is also received in a heteronormative world. She cannot conceive that there would be a reason why a man wouldn't be attracted to her other than his cruelty. It couldn't be that he's not attracted to women or not attracted to anyone. Men are attracted to women and women only, and she is the exception, which hurts her feelings. And evidently, that is the moral of the story. Madame Daunois, like her contemporary Charles Perrault, ended her fairy tales with a moral poem to really drive the lesson home. The moral of Belle-belle has nothing to do with cross-dressing or sex and gender. It is essentially, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And that Belle-belle was saved from the queen's wrath because she was innocent. Not just innocent of the crime Fortuné was accused of, but innocent by nature. Which brings in another gender theme to the story, that women are inherently innocent. Belle-belle, the woman, is innocent. After they tied Fortuné to the stake, they tore off his robe and vest to pierce his heart. Imagine everyone's astonishment when they uncovered the ivory bosom of Belle-belle. Immediately, the crowd of people realized Fortuné was an innocent girl unjustly accused. A girl could not possibly have attacked the queen. Girls aren't violent. Only a man would do that. The crowd is quick to set their beloved Fortuné free now that they know she is absolved of all crimes, for women are always innocent. It strangely contradicts the whole original sin of Eve thing that Christianity has going on, but this seems to be specific to men's crimes, as if women cannot commit men's crimes. Like, women are guilty of seducing married men, but heteros could not compute a woman-on-woman sex crime. But I digress. Gender, I barely know them. Love that one. Gender, as we understand it now, is a set of standards set by society, not something internally connected to one's biology. As a narrative device, film noir uses a deception of social gender to change the character's trajectory. Only when perceived to be a man could Belle-belle have taken her father's place in the army, recruited a team of gifted men, become respected by a king, desired by a queen, and put in the position to slay a dragon and defeat an emperor. All of which she does because she is a boss. Like her sisters who tried before her, Belle-belle's story would have been short and uninteresting if she'd trotted into town to see the king in her own clothes. Though I, and others, would love to see the dissolution of the completely made-up and unnecessary social construct of gender, binary or spectrum, the binary nature and strict rules of gender, be it Once Upon a Time or in Trump's anti-trans America, does give fertile playing ground for stories like Belle-belle, which are built on breaking, bending, and jumping over the rules. What a sentence. In short, if there weren't a dress code, we couldn't cross-dress. I wish a story like Belle-belle were more explicitly queer or trans, but that's why I love fairy tale retellings, like the ones I wrote in my book. Perhaps I will write my own gender-defying tale in which gender is not only defied, but broken down, in which Belle-belle is queer and shows all the ladies of court what they're missing out on, and the king's crush on Fortuné helps him realize his buried queer feelings. Madame Delnoy has laid the groundwork, and we get to interpret, retell, and rethink her work, and all gender-bending tales, into the story we need today. The end. I'm Tish Black, a fairy tale author, and while I have yet to use Belle-belle as inspiration for a story, you'll find classics like Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, retold with feminine rage in my debut short story collection, Ebony, Blood, and Snow, New Stories from Old Tales. I said it right. Buy my book. Available where books are sold. 'Cause it's a book. It's very little. Don't be scared. You can read it. I believe in you. Want some book ASMR? Sounds good?